Nothing can now be believed which is seen in a newspaper. Truth itself becomes suspicious by being put into that polluted vehicle. The real extent of this state of misinformation is known only to those who are in situations to confront facts within their knowledge with the lies of the day. One of the common failings among honorable people is a failure to appreciate how thoroughly dishonorable some other people can be, and how dangerous it is to trust them. Guard, protect, and cherish your land, for there is no afterlife for a place that started out as heaven. You use a glass mirror to see your face. You use works of art to see your soul. True literature can exist only where it is created not by diligent and trustworthy functionaries, but by madmen, hermits, heretics, dreamers, rebels, and skeptics.
Human beings make life so interesting. Do you know that in a universe so full of wonders, they have managed to invent boredom?
Demosthenes, 341 BCE, 3rd Philippic. You are in your present plight because you do not do any part of your duty, small or great. For of course, if you were doing all that you should do and were still in this evil case, you could not even hope for any improvement. As it is, Philip has conquered your indolence and your indifference, but he has not conquered Athens. You have not been vanquished. You have never even stirred. Farming looks mighty easy when your plow is a pencil and you're 1,000 miles from the cornfield. The reason why time plays a great part in so many of my tales is that this element looms up in my mind as the most profoundly dramatic and grimly terrible thing in the universe. Half the world is composed of people who have something to say and can't, and the other half who have nothing to say and keep on saying it. Far better it is to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to rank with those poor spirits who neither enjoy nor suffer much, because they live in a grey twilight that knows not victory nor defeat. Remember not only to say the right thing in the right place, but far more difficult still, to leave unsaid the wrong thing at the tempting moment. It is usually futile to try to talk facts and analysis to people who are enjoying a sense of moral superiority in their ignorance. They who dream by day are cognizant of many things which escape those who dream only by night. It is better to fail in originality than to succeed in imitation. If I had my choice, I would kill every reporter in the world. But I'm sure we will be getting reports from hell before breakfast. The first step in liquidating a people is to erase its memory. Destroy its books, its culture, its history. Then have someone write new books, manufacture a new culture, invent a new history. Before long, the nation will begin to forget what it is and what it was. In the end, it's not the years in your life that count. It's the life in your years. The brains of members of the press departments of motion picture studios resemble soup at a cheap restaurant. It is wiser not to stir them. I would rather have questions that can't be answered than answers that can't be questioned. The most terrifying words in the English language are, "I'm from the government, and I'm here to help." How art thou out of breath when thou hast breath to say to me that thou art out of breath? No right was deemed by the fathers of the government more sacred than the right of speech. It was in their eyes, as in the eyes of all thoughtful men, the great moral renovator of society and government. In 3 words, I can sum up everything I've learned about life.
it goes on.
To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. The question isn't who is going to let me, it's who is going to stop me. The man who reads nothing at all is better educated than the man who reads nothing but newspapers. A people that values its privileges above its principles soon loses both. He who fights with monsters might take care lest he thereby become a monster. And if you gaze for long into an abyss, the abyss gazes also into you.
The only way to deal with an unfree world is to become so absolutely free that your very existence is an act of rebellion. The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall.
Many people who incite the Inquisition so vehemently against sorcerers in their towns and villages are not at all aware and do not notice or foresee that once they've begun to clamour for torture, every person tortured must denounce several more. The trials will continue, so eventually the denunciations will inevitably reach them and their families, since, as I warned above, no end will be found until everyone has been burned. There is in every true woman's heart a spark of heavenly fire, which lies dormant in the broad daylight of prosperity, but which kindles up and beams and blazes in the dark hour of adversity. The democratic system is challenged by the failure in television because our evening news programs have gone for an attempt to entertain as much as to inform in the desperate fight for ratings. Sometimes in politics one must duel with skunks, but no one should be fool enough to allow skunks to choose the weapons. The finest works of art are precious, among other reasons, because they make it possible for us to know, if only imperfectly and for a little while, what it actually feels like to think subtly and feel nobly. In this world nothing can be said to be certain, except death and taxes. No one should be ashamed to admit he is wrong, which is but saying, in other words, that he is wiser today than he was yesterday. In vast stretches of the earth, men awoke today in hunger. They will spend the day in unceasing toil, and as the sun goes down, they will still know hunger. They will see suffering in the eyes of their children. Many despair that their labor will ever decently shelter their families or protect them against disease. So long as this is so, peace and freedom will be endangered throughout our world. For wherever free men lose hope of progress, liberty will be weakened, and the seeds of conflict will be sown. It takes considerable knowledge just to realize the extent of your own ignorance. Someone will say, "Yes, Socrates, but cannot you hold your tongue, and then you may go into a foreign city, and no one will interfere with you?" Now I have great difficulty in making you understand my answer to this. For if I tell you that to do as you say would be a disobedience to the god, and therefore that I cannot hold my tongue, you will not believe that I am serious. And if I say again that daily to discourse about virtue and of those other things about which you hear me examining myself and others is the greatest good of man, and that the unexamined life is not worth living, you are still less likely to believe me. I must study politics and war, that my sons may have liberty to study mathematics and philosophy. I would rather be exposed to the inconveniences attending too much liberty than those attending too small a degree of it. True terror is to wake up one morning and discover that your high school class is running the country. Let the future tell the truth and evaluate each one according to his work and accomplishments. The present is theirs. The future, for which I have really worked, is mine. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together. You can fool all of the people some of the time, and some of the people all of the time, but you can't fool all of the people all of the time. Timid men prefer the calm of despotism to the tempestuous sea of liberty. When you see that in order to produce you need to obtain permission from men who produce nothing, when you see that money is flowing to those who deal not in goods but in favors, when you see that men get richer by graft and by pull than by work, and your laws don't protect you against them but protect them against you, when you see corruption being rewarded and honesty becoming a self-sacrifice, you may know that your society is doomed. In awe, I watched the waxing moon ride across the zenith of the heavens like an ambered chariot towards the ebony void of infinite space, wherein the tethered belts of Jupiter and Mars hang, forever festooned in their orbital majesty. And as I looked at all this, I thought, I must put a roof on this toilet.